When I was 18, I was a babysitter for 3 young boys across town from me. They were 3, 5, and 7. I'll just call them Adam 3, Bobby 5, and Chris 7, ABC. Adam and Chris were the easiest to take care of. Adam was a surprisingly well-behaved toddler, and Chris just liked to play his video games and watch TV. Bobby, on the other hand, was very moody, a picky eater, and difficult to get to go to sleep. I had worked for this family for months, and I was somewhat close with their mom Lucy, who was raising them by herself. They had a decently modest middle-class house. Lucy's parents would help her out with finances and such. All 3 boys had their own rooms. Lucy worked nights at the time, so I'd always babysit till around midnight on weeknights, and my college classes would start in the afternoon, so it worked out schedule and sleep-wise. One night after playing some Nintendo Wii games with Chris, I put Adam to bed, and not long after, Bobby. Chris's bedtime would be 9:30, Bobby's would be 9. After tucking Bobby in, I started telling Chris to start changing into his PJs after his next game was over. Chris insisted I play one more game of Wii tennis with him, so I made a deal that he'd go to bed after if I did. During our game though, Bobby started crying for me up from his room. I paused the game and went upstairs. As I entered his room, he said there's a monster in his closet. I laughed, and I believe I pinched his cheek and said something along the lines of, "There's no such thing as monsters, but I'll leave the door open so you feel safer." Then I asked if that made him feel better, and he nodded. Chris was downstairs calling for me to come back, all annoyed, so I went back to the game of tennis and we resumed, and we eventually finished the game with no interruptions. At this point, Chris went upstairs to change into his pajamas and brush his teeth, and I was alone in the kitchen watching TV. That's when Bobby's cries from upstairs echoed down again. I went up to his room again, and he was hiding under his covers. He said once again, "There's a monster in the closet, I heard it." I looked at the closet door, which was closed. I looked at it for a while actually, then back at Bobby and asked, "Why do you think there's a monster in there?" And he replied, "I keep hearing it moving." I asked him if he wanted me to take a look, and he shook his head no. I walked closer to the closet anyway, and he said don't. I didn't take him seriously, till I heard something in the closet myself. It was very clearly the sound of something alive in that closet that tapped into the door, or something behind the door. Bobby whispered, "See?" I turned around and picked up Bobby and said we're going to another room. I also grabbed Chris from the bathroom and brought him into Adam's room, where I locked the door. Adam and Lucy's room share a Jack and Jill bathroom with 2 entrances. I went into the bathroom and called Lucy and quietly asked if there was a possibility of there being an animal in the house or in the walls, because there were sounds that Bobby was hearing that I heard myself. She sounded concerned right away and wanted me to check the closet. I kept her on the phone as I went back to Bobby's room. My discovering the closet door to now be ajar confirmed that there was someone in the house with us. I told Lucy, and she freaked out, telling me it was most likely her crazy ex and to get the kids out of the house. I suddenly felt like my life were in danger, and her ex was going to come out of nowhere and run at me. I went to Adam's room and managed to get the 3 kids out of the room, but just as I did, I heard the front door to the house slam shut. I peeked down into the living room, and there was no one there, but the front door was shut. He must have made an exit while he could. I went to lock the door, then called 911. Lucy came home from work early, and was there when the police came. Without cameras or anything, there was no proof that it was her ex though. Her ex is the father of Adam, but she keeps him away from her because of their past that I won't get into for her privacy. Long story short, he can't take it, and she just recently blocked his number, which would explain the possibility of him breaking into the house. The police recommended changing the locks on the doors and such to Lucy. She understood I wouldn't feel comfortable staying in that house for a while after that, so she started letting the kids stay with a relative or one of her parents coming to watch the kids. I don't know what happened after that because we kind of fell out of contact. I didn't really like the fact that she was okay with me checking the closet when she was already suspicious that it was her ex. It was definitely a horrifying experience.